Northwest Film Forum's Collective Power Fund is now open for grant applications. Grants are starting at $2,000 up to $10,000 for individual or artist collectives. The annual grant cycle focuses primarily on supporting art that incites public dialogue, pushes boundaries, explores genre fluidity, speaks its truth through an authentic perspective, and is often non-traditional, anti-institutional, socially responsible, or disruptive of any existing structures and conventions. Learn more and apply at collectivepowernw.org.
What's on your heart? Are you exhausted at the lack of progress for people of color in business, politics, and life? This is Cindy Bright, the host of Heartbeat Radio. Each week, we explore this heart condition in the country that is affecting you and me. We have real conversations about what's necessary for change. It's time to change this dialogue. Will you join this Heartbeat weekly, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on Rainier Avenue Radio?
Women Empowerment Talk Radio, your roadmap to business success. Tune in every Sunday at 3 p.m. on Rainier Avenue Radio.world, providing resources and sharing motivational experiences from the everyday entrepreneur. Tune in Women Empowerment Talk Radio every Sunday, 3 p.m. on Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Ở Washington, hầu hết chúng ta đều đồng ý rằng con đường dẫn đến sự an toàn nhất là khi chúng ta đặt điện thoại ra khỏi tầm tay. Nhưng điều đó không dễ làm, vì vậy hãy lan truyền thông điệp và làm gương. Trước khi bạn lên đường, đặt điện thoại của bạn vào hộp đựng găng tay, cài đặt nó với không làm phiền. Yêu cầu bạn bè và gia đình của bạn cũng làm như vậy. Bởi vì khi tất cả chúng ta đều làm phần việc của mình, sẽ tạo ra con đường an toàn hơn cho tất cả mọi người. Chúng ta hãy cùng nhau đến đó. Một thông điệp từ Ủy ban An toàn Giao thông Washington.
You know you can't get enough of Rainier Avenue Radio. .world.
Welcome to Rainier Avenue Radio. This is Afternoons with Monique, recording live in Seattle, Washington, every Thursday at 1 p.m.
Hello, Rainier Avenue Radio. You're listening to Afternoons with Monique. And there's Monique.
On your end, because I'm using the phone and the computer and it's not. All right. This is Monique from the Afternoons with Monique show. You're on Rainier Avenue Radio, and today I have the pleasure of inviting a political consultant in town. Her name is Seferiana, and she was recently named as one of the most 100 most influential people in Washington. Seferiana Day. Hi,
Hello.
there you are. Sorry about that mic trouble. I'm not sure why that is happening.
No problem at all. It's the day we're in, you know, when everything's virtual. Great to be here.
Yeah, likewise. Well, I'm glad we have a chance to speak with each other briefly. I'm going to mute the screen because there's an echo on my line. Can you hear me well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, Sefia, if I pronounce your name wrong, please correct me. Seferiana. Okay.
Perfect.
So, how long have you been a political consultant?
So I've formally been a political consultant since 2018. So we're on year 5. We founded our firm in January of 2018. But I've been working in campaigns since 2014 or so as a manager, and have organized for many races. But in the consulting role, we've been around for about 4.5 years.
How long have you had Upper Left Strategies? How long have you founded that?
We're in year 5 now. So.
Okay. I know that you've advised or consulted with a number of notable politicians in town. Can you name a few of your big clients?
Sure. Yeah. Some of our most exciting clients one of our very first clients was Senator Joe Wynn in the 34th Legislative District. That's West Seattle, Burien, White Center. He was the first person of color to ever sit in that seat. So it was pretty history making and exciting. We ran him our very first year. Other clients include Gurmai Zahalai, King County Council member in the 2nd District, which is the main kind of central Seattle area. He's pretty incredible as well. We also worked with David Hackney, who took over in the 11th District a couple of years ago. Those are some of our top folks.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I would like to know is, what issues do you care about?
Yeah, what issues do I care about? I think mostly I care about representation And just understanding that when we think about who gets into office, who are elected officials, they're often older, they have more money, they're usually more white folks in office. And so I think it's just really important to me to have representation, and so to have our communities at the table making the decisions that are affecting our lives. And so that's probably my top issue. But I do know there are a ton of really important issues just socially, just dealing with civil rights and, whether it's reproductive rights or human rights, housing and homelessness, and just all of these issues that we're facing every day. But I think having really good representation is a thing that we can do as a consulting firm, is to get people elected into office that care about those issues from a place that's really centering the community first.
Now, before you opened Upper Left Strategies, the firm, you were a director and coordinator, and you worked at the office of the mayor during Mayor Burgess' regime. You were also a legislative aide for Tim Burgess for a time, and campaign manager for Ms. Pramila Chayapal. Sorry. What experience did you have through working with these notable and successful politicians that you've learned, that you brought into Upper Left Strategies?
That's a great question. I would say from Pramila, I learned just the power of organizing. And before I worked for Pramila, I was an organizer with Working Washington and SEIU, one of the biggest labor unions in the state. And we did a lot of organizing of workers. Pramila is an organizer at heart. And so on that campaign, we knocked over 24,000 doors in the 37th district. Mm-hmm. And it was really just a ground game of getting the word out. And so I bring that to, I think to my work. And then working for Tim, former council member Burgess, I really learned kind of the ins and outs of policy making and how to really bring people together that might be, from opposite sides of an issue, whether it's like labor and business. I really enjoyed that piece of being able to bring in just different stakeholders, right? And bringing the community to the table and kind of really reaching back in to show folks like, this is how policy is made and this is how you can really make a difference. So those are two kind of distinct things that I'm able to bring into my work with Upper Left, and to kind of work with candidates that are, strong organizers, or maybe they're strong policy thinkers. It's good to kind of bring two together.
So Upper Left Strategies, why that name?
Well, it's kind of fun because we usually run progressive Democratic candidates. So we're very left leaning, and we're also in the upper left corner of the country. So it's a little bit of a play on words in a couple of ways.
I was curious about that. What are your approach and philosophy when it comes to fundraising and knocking on doors?
Ooh, yeah, I would say campaigns are all about relationships. And so fundraising, it's usually you're building relationships and you're showing people, really it's it's all about organizing and building relationships, because you're really there to understand what issues are important to people. And so if you knock on someone's door as a candidate, you're really asking them, like, what's important to you? It's a little bit less about what I want to do as a candidate. It's more like, how am I going to show up for my community in my district? And I think it's the same for fundraising, where you're really just trying to show that you care, and then you do have to make that hard ask, right? You have to ask for a vote, or you have to ask for dollars. But it's really, I think it's important too to make it a little bit less about the candidate and also really about what that person's going to bring to table and how they'll represent you and the district.
I'd like to know how our local point of view versus national point of view. We have a very state, right? And that point of view reflect in the politicians that we elect. Comparing to the national view, how would you say that raising fund and campaigning and advising these candidates differ from a national stage?
Yeah, well, I would say locally we have a lot of Democrats versus Democrats. We have sort of a, you know, I guess there's like different shades of blue, really. And so there's less of a stark difference. Before I lived here, I lived in Nashville, Tennessee, and there was definitely a really Democrat versus Republican. You know, it was very contentious. And here it's a little bit more nuanced. And so we're often working with candidates to really figure out, you know, what lane are you in? You know, are you a super progressive? Are you an organizer? Are you a little more moderate or like more business friendly? And so a lot of times it's just figuring out those nuances, like where are their relationships, where are their policy stances, and how do we kind of work with them based on that?
Now, I have an interesting and kind of fun question to ask you, which I'm going to spring out. Let's say if somebody did something, we lived a little, we made some progress and triumph, but then some people make some mistakes along the way. And let's just pretend like someone did something and got convicted for a crime. Let's say not a big crime, but like, someone get into the bar, got drunk, got into a fight, got arrested, got convicted. Would you advise someone like that to not run or do run for office?
I probably might advise someone to not run. I think there's a lot that goes into deciding to run. And it really is about, I think the bottom line is like, do you want everyone to know? Because everyone's going to know anything that's on social media, anything that's publicly available, people are going to find. And so it's really about you as a candidate being comfortable with that. I think we've seen in the past, Twitter is used, past social media posts are used against candidates, and it might have been 10 years ago, but that it still exists. And so the candidate really has to be comfortable. And so I think, depending on what it is, I think we've also seen candidates step forward who might have a history, but they can actually say, that was a long time ago, I've overcome it. I want to see reforms. I think there's a way to kind of message it and like have it genuinely be a part of a person's story. So I think it kind of depends on what it is, but just know as a candidate that people are going to know your history as long as it's public. So being okay with talking about it. But that's also what we're here for, is to help you as a candidate kind of talk about yourself and message your story to people.
And that's part of your role as a political consultant, is the vetting process and how to tell the story in a way that appeals, right? Tell me a few more of the role as a political consultant and political manager. Besides fundraising, advising them about their message, vetting, what else do you do?
Yeah, so we are the strategists. As consultants, we are we're also thinking about what do the voters want. So I think a lot of candidates will come to us, they're really amazing, but oftentimes we'll say, you need to run for the right seat at the right time, right? Timing. And timing is everything. Mm-hmm. And so we might work with someone who wants to run for office, but now might not be the right time. So we might say, let's wait a couple more years, or let's build out your network. So that's just one example. But I think that when we do start working with someone, we're really thinking about what do the voters want, and how do you kind of really authentically message your story and your values to connect with voters. Because as we know, we work with a lot of more diverse candidates, but a lot of voters, the voting bloc is less diverse. It's older, it's whiter, it's homeowners. And how do we, tell our stories in a way that's going to resonate and build trust with people who vote? And how do we also get more people voting?
So I moderated the debate between Joe Nguyen and Dow Constantine a few months ago, back in October 2021. And I was very impressed with Mr. Nguyen's message and how he articulate his vision, his story, what he wants to see done. Were you working with him during that campaign?
My team was, yes.
Ah,
I personally was not, but yes, my team was.
okay. All right. So you helped him refine that message. Okay.
Yes. And we started working together during his first race. So I think a lot of it was really building on the work that he'd done in the Senate, and also just kind of keeping that message going that he started with.
Did you work with him before he became a senator the first time? Oh, okay. Well, I was very impressed also with the first win to the Senate that he did. So more kudos to you. Wow, amazing work. What do you think his future look like with the party?
Sorry, can you
Are
repeat
you
the
allowed to
question?
say that? I want to know what you think. After he lost to Dow Constantine, which is 3-term King County executive, a big incumbent, but at 42% win ratio, that's a pretty high for a challenger, high percentage. Do you think some people say, oh, he may have crossed some wrong people in the party, his future is shot? What do you think?
I think he's going to do all right. He's got a re-election race this year. He's doing well. I would say he's beloved in the district. He's my senator. And so, yeah, I think he's going to do great. And I thought he put up a great challenge.
I thought so too.
Yeah, and I think it
pretty well.
Yeah, and I think it made a good. I think it's important to have challenges and have people bring up issues that maybe aren't being talked about, so that they do become part of the narrative and part of the story. There were issues brought up in that race that I think wouldn't have been brought up otherwise.
So who else are you working in the pipeline right now? Who are your existing clients? Are you allowed to tell?
Oh yeah, I'm proud of the people that we're working with. Who are we working with right now? We are working with some great folks across many legislative races. Obviously, we're working with our incumbents, Joe Wynn, Kathy. We're working with Noelle Frame in the 36th district up north on her Senate race. She's an incredible progressive who's been in since 2016. We're also working with Tyler Crone in that same district for the House seat that's being vacated. And we have some other things in the works as well. So kind of got a busy year ahead.
Well, thank you so much. Our show is coming to an end. Miss Seferiana Day, thanks for sharing with us about your work and some of the clients that you're working with and your philosophy.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, of course. We'll see you around.
All right.
Next week, we'll have Julie Nagel from an architecture firm coming on our show talking about her work. She's instrumental in building a few high-rises in the downtown Seattle area in King County. Please join us next Thursday at 1 p.m.
You know you can't get enough